of Navratri, we worship Shailaputri. This story is not just divine history, it is a reminder of resilience. She shows us that even when torn apart by pain, betrayal, and loss, we can rise again.
Daksha, the Manasputra of Brahma, had a radiant daughter named Sati. From the moment she opened her eyes, her heart belonged only to Bhagavan Shiva. When she came of age, Daksha reluctantly gave her hand to that ash-smeared, graveyard-dwelling lord of yogis, Bhagavan Shiva. But Daksha's heart never accepted Shiva as a worthy son-in-law. The most beautiful woman in the universe, tied to one who roams cremation grounds, clad in tiger skin, with snake as an ornament. Daksha soon organized a grand yajna. He invited gods, sages, celestial beings, but he deliberately excluded Shiva. Shiva, unmoved, remained silent, while Sati remained unaware. She saw her sisters, the 27 nakshatras, journeying with their husband Chandra to the yajna. Hoping to meet her family, she joyfully told Shiva. Shiva smiled and said nothing. When Sati asked if she could attend, he cautioned her, sensing Daksha's intentions. Yet her eagerness to see her family prevailed, and with his reluctant consent, she went. The moment Sati reached the yajna, she realized, how could her beloved Shiva, the source and dissolution of all creation, not be invited, even by mistake? Daksha's cruel words answered her doubts. He yelled at his daughter, shaming her for arriving without an invitation. This insult was deliberate, a dishonor not only to her, but to her Bhagavan Shiva. Burning with grief and righteous fury, feeling ashamed to be his daughter, she invokes her inner fire, and with this Shakti, she burns this body given by her father Daksha. Shiva, feeling the tremor of her passing, was seized with fury beyond measure. And from his rage arose Veerabhadra and Bhadrakali, who destroyed those responsible for the yajna and Sati's suffering. Heartbroken, Shiva withdrew into deep meditation, closing himself from the world. Meanwhile, Himavan, the king of mountains, and his queen Maina did tapas to have the Devi as their daughter. Moved by their devotion, the mother goddess answered their prayers, and Sati was reborn as their daughter Shailaputri, the daughter of the mountains. She is known as Haimavati and Parvati.
चितलाभाय चन्द्रार्धकृतशेखरां वन्दे वाञ्छितलाभाय चन्द्रार्धकृतशेखरां वृषारूढां शूलधरां शैलपुत्रीं यशस्विनीं
On the second day of Navaratri, we worship Ma Brahmacharini, a symbol of perseverance and ekagrata, who with her intense tapasya won Shiva's heart.
As Shailaputri, the daughter of the mountains, Parvati grew up immersed in one thought alone, her Bhagwan Shiva. Every breath was his name. She sang, she chanted, she danced in his remembrance. When news reached them that Shiva was lost in deep tapasya in the Himalayas, King Himavan and Parvati hurried to serve him. With bhakti, they cleaned his surroundings, offered food, and prayed at his feet. Yet, Shiva remained unmoved. Eyes shut, heart absorbed in meditation, he did not even glance at Parvati. Disheartened, Parvati's spirit began to waver until Rishi Narada appeared. He told her, if service does not move him, tapasya will. Penance is the path to reach Shiva. Inspired, Parvati began her own tapas. She renounced comforts one by one. First grains, then fruits, then even leaves. She lived only on water, then only on air. Her tapas continued for 3,000 years until she was ready to surrender even her breath. The power of her tapas shook the heavens and disturbed Shiva's dhyana. At that moment, on the request of the Devas, Kamadeva released his arrow of love towards Shiva. Shiva's fury blazed, and with a glance, he burnt Kama to ashes. Yet, when he calmed, his eyes fell upon Parvati, radiant, unwavering in her bhakti and tapas. She was his own other half, his Shakti. Deeply moved, Shiva silently accepted her in his heart. Shiva. Smiling, he embraced her, and at her request, he agreed to seek her hand from her parents.
On day 3 of Navratri, we worship Ma Chandraghanta, an embodiment of both strength and serenity. She is the sound of the celestial bell that drives away fear and darkness. She teaches us that courage is not the absence of fear, but the grace to face it with calm strength.
Preparations began for the wedding of Shiva and Parvati. The mandap was adorned, food was prepared, invitations were sent to all the gods, rishis, and celestial beings. Eager to meet his bride, Shiva decorated himself as he always does, with ash on his body, serpent as an ornament, wearing Rudraksh beads. Mounted on Nandi, surrounded by his ganas in fierce and terrifying forms, he marched towards the palace. The sight of this procession shook everyone who saw it. When Parvati's parents, Queen Maina and King Himavan saw this, their hearts sank. They had dreamt of a majestic prince as a daughter's groom, but here stood the Lord of Destruction, wild, ash-smeared and dreadful. Queen Maina fainted in fear, and the King Himavan trembled with doubt. Seeing her parents worry, Parvati immediately transformed. Revealed a fierce Vikramasam's form, radiant and terrible, with 10 arms, each holding a divine weapon, riding upon a tiger. On her forehead shone a crescent moon shaped like a bell, giving her the name Chandraganta. The earth trembled with her presence. Shiva and his group stopped in surprise. Shiva himself was captivated by this powerful form of his beloved. Parvati declared, "If you come in this form, then I too shall greet you in this form." Hearing her words, Shiva smiled. To ease her parents' fears, he transformed his own appearance. No longer the dreadful ascetic, but a majestic princely groom, radiant with grace and charm. His ganas too took pleasing forms. Hand in hand, he urged Parvati to shed her fierce form and return to her serene beauty. She agreed, glowing with divine radiance, enchanting all who were present.
On day 4 of Navaratri, we worship Ma Kushmanda, the light in the darkness and warmth in the void, the mother of creation itself. She protects, shelters, and nourishes like a mother.
Before creation itself, before time, before form, there was only her, the eternal mother, the life force radiant and complete within herself. With a gentle smile, she stirred the silence, and from that smile, the seed of creation was born. Her very name reveals her essence. Ku means little, Ushma means warm, Anda is cosmic egg, and from her smile, warm and radiant like an egg, all existence emerged. She is the creator, the preserver, and the destroyer of everything, seen and unseen, material and spiritual. The entire cosmos rests in her womb, like an egg floating in the infinite. She is the mother of all. From them emerged the divine trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, with the three goddesses, Saraswati, Lakshmi, and Parvati. Thus creation began. The sun is the source of all life, and Ma Kushmanda dwells at the heart of the sun, pouring out her light, nurturing, sustaining, and enlivening all beings.
रुधिराप्लुतमेव च सुरासम्पूर्णकलशम् रुधिराप्लुतमेव च दधानाहस्तपद्माभ्यां कूष्माण्ड शुभदास्तु मे कूष्माण्ड शुभदास्तु मे.
On the 5th day of Navratri, we worship Ma Skandamata, she who carries Skanda on her lap. When we surrender to the Divine Mother, she carries us just as she carries Skanda towards victory, courage, and wisdom.
The demon Tarakasura had received a boon from Brahmaji. Only the son of Bhagwan Shiva could destroy him. Tarakasura thought himself immortal. Time passed, but no child was born. Bhagwan Shiva's divine seed would manifest a son of unmatched power. But who could carry such fiery energy? The task was entrusted to Agni Deva, but unable to bear the heat, Agni Deva placed the seed in Ma Ganga. On the river banks, the Kritikas, the 6 celestial star maidens, nurtured the divine seed, and 6 radiant infants were born. Ma Parvati's motherly instinct awakened. The 6 infants merged into one glorious child with 6 faces, Shanmukha, also known as Skanda, Muruga, and Kartikeya, the commander of the celestial army and destroyer of Tarakasura. With 4 hands, Ma Skandamata carries her child Skanda in her lap, radiating the strength of a mother's love and the power of protection.
सिंहासनागता नित्यं पद्माश्रितकरद्वया सिंहासनागता नित्यं पद्माश्रितकरद्वया शुभदास्तु सदा देवी स्कन्दमाता यशस्विनी स्कन्दमाता यशस्विनी स्कन्दमाता यशस्विनी.
On the 6th day of Navaratri, we worship Ma Katyayani. Her victory reminds us that no matter how powerful our inner demons may be, with devotion, strength, and perseverance, the light of the divine feminine can and will prevail.
The Asura Mahisha was unleashing terror across the 3 worlds. Empowered by a boon from Brahmaji himself that he could only be killed by a woman, he believed himself to be practically immortal. Arrogant and overconfident, he mocked the very idea that a woman could ever defeat him. In their desperation, the Devas approached the Holy Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, seeking a way to end Mahishasura's tyranny. From the combined divine energies of these gods and from all the other devas, a blinding radiance emerged, and these rays of light merged into one supreme form, the Devi, created with the sole purpose of destroying Mahishasura. Each deity then offered their most powerful weapons to her. Shiva gave her his Trishul, Vishnu his Chakra, Indra his Vajra, arming her to face the greatest of demons. At the same time on earth, Rishi Katyayana was immersed in intense tapasya, praying with a single desire that the Divine Mother be born to him as his daughter. Moved by his devotion, the Devi granted his wish and appeared as his child. From that day, she became known as Katyayani. One day, while Ma Katyayani was meditating in the forest of Vindhyachal, the attendants of Mahishasura saw her. Struck by her radiance and beauty, they approached her with a message. Their lord Mahishasura wished to marry her. The Devi laughed and mocked this request of Mahishasura. When Mahishasura heard this, he was enraged, insulted, and furious. Mahishasura himself took to the battlefield to destroy her. What followed was an epic battle that raged on for 10 days. Mahishasura used his ability to shapeshift, taking on various terrifying forms, but each time Devi Katyayani defeated him. Finally, he took the form of a powerful buffalo asura. On the 10th day, now celebrated as Vijayadashami, the asura tried to transform yet again between his buffalo and human forms. At that precise moment, the Devi struck. She pinned him down with her foot and with one swift motion beheaded him, putting an end to his reign of terror. Thus she came to be known and worshipped as Mahishasura Mardini, the slayer of Mahishasura.
चन्द्रहासोज्ज्वलकरा शार्दूल वरवाहना चन्द्रहासोज्ज्वलकरा शार्दूल वरवाहना कात्यायनी शुभं दद्या देवी दानवघातिनी देवी दानवघातिनी.
On day 7 of Navaratri, we worship Ma Kalaratri, who teaches us that even in the darkest of death battles, there's always hope. No challenge is impossible with courage, focus, and determination. If we give our best effort, victory is certain.
When the Danavas Shumba and Nishumba were terrorizing the three worlds, the Devas rushed to seek refuge in Ma Parvati. From her emerged a resplendent goddess known as Ambika Devi. In that very moment, Ma Parvati herself assumed a dark, fearsome form, black in complexion, radiating terror. This fierce manifestation came to be known as Kalratri or Kalika. The two asuras, underestimating the power of a woman, sent their most formidable Danava general, Raktabija, into battle. Raktabija had a terrifying boon. Each drop of his spilled blood would instantly give rise to another Raktabija, identical in strength, weapon and appearance, ready to fight. The Matrikas launched their attack, but with every strike his blood spilled, multiplying his clones until the whole battlefield was swarming with countless Raktabijas. The Devi struggled to contain the overwhelming numbers. At that moment, Ambika Devi calmly instructed Ma Kalratri to drink every drop of blood that spilled before it could touch the ground. Ma Kalratri swiftly drank up each drop of blood, preventing new clones from forming. Then, with Ma Kalratri's aid, Ma Ambika slayed him, ending his menace once and for all. When Nishumba learned of Raktabija's death, he attacked Ambika Devi, but was vanquished by her power. Finally, Shumba himself entered into the battlefield, seething with rage. He mocked and insulted Kalika, but Ambika Devi only smiled and instructed Chamunda to fight him. A fierce battle ensued, and with every strike, Ma Kalratri severed Shumba's limbs one by one. At last, with one stroke, Kalratri Devi beheaded Shumba, ending his reign of terror. Thus, the Devas were freed and the balance was restored.
एकवेणी जपा कर्णा पूरनग्ना खरस्थिता एकवेणी जपा कर्णा पूरनग्ना खरस्थिता
On day 8 of Navaratri, we worship Maha Gauri. Her story is not only of beauty regained, but of inner transformation. After our struggles, penance, and battles with inner darkness, we emerge stronger, brighter, and purified, washed clean in surrender and devotion. We shine with resilience, ready to protect ourselves and others from injustice.
Ma Ambika and Ma Kalratri destroyed the Danava armies, ended Shumba and Nishumbha, then they merged back into Ma Parvati. To cleanse herself after the war, she bathed in the sacred waters of Ma Ganga. From the river she emerged, transformed, radiant, serene and luminous, her complexion glowing like the moon, her skin pure and fair as milk. And from then on, she was known as Mahagauri. Another tale tells us of the time when Ma Parvati undertook the 3,000 years of intense tapasya to win Bhagwan Shiva. Her body grew frail and dark with her penance. Yet her devotion was unwavering. At last, Bhagwan Shiva, moved by her perseverance, appeared before her and accepted her. To restore her to her divine glory, he bathed her in the waters of Ma Ganga. Instantly, her form became resplendent once more, shining with beauty, strength, and purity. Her radiance was so bright, her skin so pure, that she came to be called as Mahagauri.
समारूढा श्वेताम्बरधरा शुचिः श्वेते दृशे समारूढा श्वेताम्बरधरा शुचिः महागौरी शुभं दद्यान् महादेव प्रमोददा महादेव प्रमोददा महादेव प्रमोददा.
On day 9 of Navratri, we worship to Ma Siddhidatri. She represents a state where devotion, tapasya, and inner purification lead to completeness.
From Ma Kushmanda, the mother of creation, arose the three Mahashaktis, Mahakali, Mahalakshmi and Mahasaraswati. And from them emerged the divine trinity, Shiva, Vishnu and Brahma. To honor the mother, Bhagavan Shiva performed intense tapasya upon her. Pleased with his devotion, she blessed him not only with the Ashtasiddhis, which are the 8 great perfections, but with a total of 18 Siddhis, powers beyond the imagination. In the same way, when Vishnu and Brahma meditated upon her divine essence, she too bestowed the Ashtasiddhis upon them. When Brahma was perplexed about how creation should unfold, the mother, who is formless, manifested as Ardhanarishwara, half Shiva, half Parvati, united as one. Creation happens through the union of Shakti and Shiva, of feminine and masculine. With this, Brahma began creation, Vishnu took his role as preserver, and Shiva continued as the eternal yogi.
सिद्धगन्धर्वयक्ष्याद्यैरसुरैरमरैरपि सिद्धगन्धर्वयक्ष्याद्यैरसुरैरमरैरपि नमस्तस्यै 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 नमस्तस्यै
संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः या देवी सर्वभूतेषु शक्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः शान्तिरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः या देवी सर्वभूतेषु श्रद्धारूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः सर्वभूतेषु लक्ष्मीरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः या देवी सर्वभूतेषु मातृरूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः
ऐगिरि नन्दिनि नन्दित मेधिनि विश्वविनोदिनि नन्दनुते गिरिवरविन्ध्य शिरोदिनि वासिनि विष्णुविलासिनि जिष्णुनुते भगवति हेशिति कण्ठकुटुम्बिनि भूरि कुटुम्बिनि भूरि कृते जय जय हे महिषासुरमर्दिनि रम्यकपर्दिनि शैलसुते पुरवरवर्षिणि दुर्धरदर्शिनि